Um, Before that, like the template might be a little bit different from the usual template because I'm recycling the finance summit, which is coming in the last week template as well. So yeah, we have a alignment in the template here, but I have like alignment. So today what we have is new finance standards. So as MCPs, of course, you are the first people to see what we have for the new finance standards for 2021 and going through the next a set of years in the ISAC 2025 as well. So like I hope to see a lot of excitement, as well as like I would like put some reactions when we are launching, so that we can enjoy this launch together as well today. So my name is Nao. You can call me Nao. So I'm the finance manager of ISAC International. So my previous role was I was MCP of ISAC in Sri Lanka. Then before that, VP Finance, LCP, LCP Finance. But now as part of ISAC International, working for finance as well. But so I wanted to put this photo as well because this was from my MCP summit. So you can see Tony, of course, your favorite RM, Tony here as well. But I just wanted to put this before. I know you probably have a lot of closings, day check-ins, check-out with a lot of lessons and sharing of experience. But before I go, I just wanted to share 2 of my lessons I learned in MCP Summit as well, because MCP Summit is one of the closest, like it's very close to my heart as well, because this was something I was going through in a bit of a tough time as well. I'm sure everyone has your own challenges, but I just want to share 2 lessons. One thing is be humble to ask and learn what you don't know, because when you are sometimes in the MCP position, it's like, okay, now I'm already in MCP, like I should be already knowing this. I cannot ask this. This might be a stupid question. Like I sometimes you might feel that, but like there's no such thing as that. So be humble to like ask and learn if you don't know. And also, of course, like Summit is mainly about making friends. Like these people are going to be your friends for life. So make sure you make the friends. That's the biggest output. The rest is fine. You can look the output, but you cannot find the output of making friends. So let's get started with the objectives that I have for you today. One thing is to understand the current context of sustainability that we have in ISAC in general, as well as then look what is the strategy of ISAC that we have to build a sustainable ISAC. And also, like, what are the objective of finance standards, and of course, what the new finance standards are going to look like. Then, what is your role as MCP in finance standards, or like implementing finance standards, as well as like making it happen. So, one expectation, I will not go through like detailed finance standards because it's not the space, and I think you are more interested about the bigger picture as MCP. And in the finance summit, we will go very detailed in the finance standards. So I will show you the checklist and stuff we have for today in the new ones, but I will not go through it. You can always refer to the output for more details, but I will not go through that. So I want to set that expectation also, just to ensure that I'm not overlooking it. But of course, we will, because part of the finance summit is also about launching the finance standards in detail. So, but as MCP, you will get to see it first as well. But yeah, let's get started. So one of the very interesting overviews I want to show you at first is what is the overall long-term objective that we have for ISAC. Is one of the components of ISAC 2025 is also building a long-lasting ISAC. So this is one of the things we as ISAC wants to achieve in the long run. So which means that ISAC has sufficient financial resources. Of course, this captures not only finances, but also aspects of membership as well. But I will only focus on the aspects of finance in this session. But that is about ISAC has sufficient financial resources for the years to continue developing leadership. So this is the long run, this objective that we want to achieve. And this objective, how we are going to achieve, is through the strategy that we have for finance. So it is building the finance systems where we have some resources for us to make decisions, timely decisions on our financial resources. And what are the projects that we are working on as ISAC International together with Global Finance Board as well? We are working on 3 projects. So one thing is new finance standards, and the second thing is data systems, where we work on democratizing financial data for the entities to make better decisions. And the third one is data auditing. So I will only focus on the first project, which is already completed and ready for you to see and use in your plannings, as well as to start working on the sustainability of your entities, which is new finance standards. And before we go, of course, this is a finance session and it's a session done by me. So I will always put data and build the context or ground yourselves of why we are here and what is the current context that is happening. Uh, so let's look at some data. Like, don't be overwhelmed if you're not very familiar with this data. That's fine, but I will simply explain, and it's for you to understand that why we are doing this is not just randomly we woke up and we want new finance standards. No, it's not how it happened. Like, this is based on like what has happened in the past and looking at the data and talking with the stakeholders. That is why we are improving this to ensure that ISAC continues to be sustainable as well. But let's look at a little bit of the context that we have for what context ISAC is being since 2017. Why? Because we started collecting data in the global network from 2017. So if you look at it, of course, you will see that big waterfall drop in the COVID situation, which is starting from January onwards. But before that, also, if you look at the trend of the data, we are also doing pretty almost like not doing very good in terms of our revenue generation as well as our profitability as well. So it's not only COVID which has been impacting, but also if I follow up this with the net profit graphs, we can see that over the last 3 to 4 years, we have been actually losing money in the organization more than generating or building reserves as well. So that actually the sustainability has been dropping in our entity since 2017 onwards, but it only accelerated, or only we saw it very clearly when the COVID happened. So, but before that also, we have been going through this time of actually reducing in our sustainability overall in our entity, ISAC as well. And followed up this by the levels of sustainability. So this is a snapshot from 2018. So if you can see the top part, which is, so if you're in top, that means you're more sustainable. If you're towards the right, that means you are more processes optimized. But if you see 2017, we have about like 5 to 6 AP entities also on top. Let's fast forward back into 2021. This is what you're going to see. So AP is not there for sure. Like, we don't see green color dots there, but also we don't see a lot of more entities overall as well. So if you look at from 2018 towards fast forwarding back to 2021, we can see that overall ISAC in general has dropped almost by 20% in terms of sustainability as well. And this data in 2021 is also a bit overstated. Why? Because we do not capture special situations of debt in the global planetary also in this GFP data as well. But this is one of the things we are also seeing, and what we want to have the conversation about finance standards and overall sustainability of ISAC in general as well. So what we see, what has been happening since 2017, 18, and right now as well. This is more of the current context. Let's look at another graph, which is also very insightful. This is the full member in alert entity in debt status of the global plan. If you go back to 2017, only about 4% of the global planetary was entity in debt. Today, if you look at the red color line, it's on top. So we have more entity in debt entities than any other. Like, the percentage is the highest in entity in debt. If you look at the green line, it's the number of full members that has been dropping over the last 4 to 5 years actually. So this actually illustrates a lot about how ISAC has been, and you can also check like the amount of entities that has been disbanding as well. A lot to do with financial sustainability. So our long-term aspiration, especially when it comes to 2016, with ISAC 2020, was to build an ISAC which is more sustainable. That's what we were working on. But we can see that the results have actually been not that good. But this is for you to ground yourself why we want to focus on this as well. But of course, if you have any questions, just put it on chat. I will answer, or else you can always approach me as well. Then this is a snapshot on AP. You can refer it later, but I just want to highlight, like, even for the last 8 months, overall as a region, we have been making net losses in terms of LC level as well as MC level as well in AP. So I'm also from AP, so I know the context of what's a lot of things that is happening as well. AP is good at being reactive. For example, it's good at being like cutting costs and like balancing out. They will figure out a way to, figure, the AP will always figure it out. But the thing is, what we want to build is to also be more proactive as a region, that will build our sustainability, so that we know that we are more proactive in terms of decision making rather than being reactive as well. But yeah, so this is a bit of the context of what is happening in ISAC overall in the last 4 to 5 years. And with that, but let's like all this stuff there, while there, we will also look at what are the achievements that we have been happening in ISAC, especially with related to finance standards and financials. So if you look at it, the conversation about sustainability has been improving a lot in ISAC overall. And we have been very much improving in our processes. So AP is very good in building processes, so has been improving as well. And there are a lot of other successful things, such as like implementing accounting softwares, like using financial data to make decisions, and overall like collecting financial information. These kind of things has been actually improved over the last 4 years, and those are like big achievements ISAC overall as well. But saying all of this, what was the strategy of ISAC to build a sustainable ISAC? So this main strategy, which we had and also which you are currently having, is finance standards. Because finance standards, the objective of finance standards is to allow entities to have the minimums that is required to build a sustainable entity, sustainable ISAC. So in 2016, it's the first set of finance standards that was released. So if you look at this, it looks very 2016, probably with the designs you can see. So this is what we started as well in 2016. And then in 2018, we have this, which probably you might have seen. I hope you have seen. This is more of the current standards that we are using as well, which we revised in 2018 as well. But fast forwarding back now, 2021, we want to, sorry, we want to ensure that we go a little ahead and to see if we are addressing the current problems that we have as an organization and to build upon that as well. So like I mentioned, why do we have finance standards? The objective of finance standards is building a sustainable ISAC. So that is something you should be also like, if someone asks like, why do we have finance standards? Oh no, it's just there, like, no, it's not the idea. Like finance standards are there to build a sustainable ISAC. So that is like the bottom line that we have for why we have. It's more of like the standards give you a checklist similar to exchange standards or like team standards. It's more of like a recipe for sustainability. But one thing additional that we have with standards is also education. I will talk about it a little bit later. So I think I was telling you a lot of content a little bit faster, but let me slow down a little bit as well. But so we talked about standards, but before we do this revision of standards or improving of and coming up with the new standards, we've been talking with a lot of stakeholders, the steering team, like regional office, externals, supervisory group, everyone. We have been asking, and we have been trying to understand what are the things that we want to improve in ISAC, and especially regarding to sustainability. And some of the limitations that we found was especially the standards that we have right now is more towards an accountant driven rather than decision making driven. So we see that over the last 4 years, the processes have been improving, but the sustainability itself has not been improving. That means while we are improving in the processes that we are doing, we are not improving in the decisions that we are making, or like we are not becoming better like decision makers using financial data and finance situations as well. Then some of the other aspects that we have not covered in the standard itself is a lot to do about savings and investing. So being proactive is not a lot of part of that was covered in the previous standards, especially things like risk management, saving for the future, building reserves, building funds. All of this is something that we got inputs as well that we have been overlooking in the last 4 years as well. But one other thing is that finance standards never like saw sustainability as a standard itself rather than seeing it as the objective. So this is also something that we used to consider that is very important for us to improve building a sustainable ISAC as well. So with that, I've been talking a lot. Let's see what we have for 2021. I hope you're very excited for this. Like you can also start preparing the reaction button. But let's go with to see what we have for 2021 and how we are addressing these problems, as well as how we want to improve and build a long-lasting ISAC. So new, better, updated, refreshed. We have finance standards. So let's see what we have. Drum roll, please. I'm imagining drum roll now. So So it's going to be called actually finance and legal standards in the future, because we give prominence and importance for legality a lot as well. So yeah, okay. So the first standard that we have for you is legalities. Of course, this was also in the previous standards, but of course, we will continue to focus on the legalities. But I will later show you the checklist and the things that we have inside of legalities, which is more improved and which covers a lot of more aspects of not just being legally registered, but also being able to build an ISAC where we conduct all our operations legally as well. So that is first thing. Second thing is accounting. Okay, we also have accounting in the previous one, but we will continue to have accounting as well. Why? Because it's the fundamental core that we have in finances as well. So we will continue to have accounting. And the next one, most fun task, what we have is budgeting. So budgeting also we will continue from the standards. Why? Because of course budgeting is a very important component that we have, and as well as how we have inside of the standard is actually improved. Yeah, Tony, like don't worry, we are coming to the next parts. But it actually, like I will show you the checklist as well, that we have more new things that are coming up as well. Okay, the fourth thing is reporting, and reporting also is something that we have. And if you think, like, of course, we will continue to do what we are doing very well and improve on the things that we are having already as well. But the next one is a new one. So at least at this point of time, you would have guessed like we have 8 standards. So we have additional ones as well. So, but I will show you the next one is analyzing. So why do we have analyzing? Is especially to how we can improve our decision making. So the top 4 is actually to lot to do with a lot to do with the process of being a finance, like an accounting role. But the next 4 is a lot to do with decision making. So what we have realized from the past data as well, what we have not been doing good is about decision making and making, like using financial data. So analyzing aspect covers a lot about how we are using financial data to make better decisions and how we can improve the situation of the entity as well and work on this as well. And the next standard that we have is investing. So it's also a new standard that is coming up. This is not just about investing, but also about saving money. This is about building reserves, building ISAC to be, whatever the crisis that we're going to face, we are strong and we build the basics and we build that savings and the foundations, the funds, everything for ISAC to be sustainable in the long run. We are not no longer going to be just reactive, but also be proactive as well. I see a lot of comments. MC Boat. Okay, but so let's see what we have next as well. Next we have is auditing. Auditing will be continued from the previous standards as well, but of course focusing a lot more towards internal auditing as well and improving the situation. Yeah, Dodge going. And the final standard that we have with the new refresh standards is risk management. So this is also one of the things that is coming new for you, is building, being more proactive in terms of managing risk for the entity and building, because risks are the biggest things that hinders us from being sustainable as well. So that we are ensuring that we focus a lot more on risk management so that we can build a sustainable ISAC as well. But yeah, these are the new standards that you have. I will go through it a little bit quickly, but of course I will open more for questions in the end, so you have more time to ask questions and to see what we have. But yeah, I hope you are very excited, and I'm also very excited to see. But what is more interesting is that we are not going to stop with finance standards, because it's nice, but then again we will also see what's the ecosystem that we have for finance and legal standards. So we have the standards here, but then again if you look inside of the standards, we will have the checklist for each of these standards. So checklist is the minimums that will guide you towards achieving this and ensuring that your entity covers the requirements that you need to fulfill this. But of course, all of these checklist points will be covered by education. So for an example, suppose it's accounting. There's the standard we have accounting. Also, there's a checkpoint called like double entry bookkeeping software. So inside of education, linked to all of this, you will have A to Z education regarding using the accounting software to how to do everything. So what finance standards do now compared to the previous one is to centralize all of the finance education from A to Z also within the standard itself. So this would be like for your entity from A to Z is the way of like making finances happen from the standards to the entire education. Also is connected with the GFP, which does the measurement part as well. So it enables you to measure how you are performing in terms of the aspects of finance standards clearly and make decisions based on that as well. So this education will also be provided in the Google Classroom, as well as the Resource Hub, as well as Squarespace, which we will make the content more dynamic. Why? Because you cannot read a 100-page PDF. Like this is going to be a lot of education for sure. But then again, we will have like the education more dynamic in the system as well, so that you can always refer to and improve, like you can get to know. But yeah, with this being the ecosystem of finance and legal standards, I will just quickly run through the standards that we have. Of course, the checklist I'm not going to explain today because we will have it in the finance summit that will be launched. So the checklist will be launched to your VP finances so that they can learn and they can take it implementation with the new MC term as well. So legalities, of course, about building a legal ISX. So we have checklist point here. Then accounting, you have the definitions, why it's relevant. I'm going to fast forward this and open more for questions because I think you all already understand and it's clear on these aspects. But in the output, you will see everything so that you can refer back as well. And we have the accounting standards. These are all refreshed, all new, like a lot of things are coming up. Budgeting, you have all the revised checklist points, and reporting and analyzing, some very interesting things coming up. In investing, so when you say investing, it's a lot to do also about savings. So it's about building reserves, building plans on reserves, and all of these funds as well, so that you have that. And auditing, we have this. And finally, risk management, which covers not only just the risk management overall, but also risk management within the end products as well that we will have. Yeah, but my expectation for this is not to actually for you to read these points. So that's why I'm skipping through, because I will later give you the slides for you to read, because it will take 2 hours for me to go through all the checklists. But yeah, just once again, like these are the standards that we have. But I hope you understand the core idea why we are doing this, why the new standards are there to support support the sustainability of ISEC as well. But few FAQs, I just predicted some FAQs and put it here. So people will ask, like, how is this going to be tracked? Is it GFP and what's going to happen? So of course the GFP will be continue to track this, but it's no longer just going to be yes or no questions, because 80% of the GFP survey is now yes or no questions. I filled it for 1 year as MCP Finance as well. I know how it happens. So, but we will move away from just yes or no questions towards more more other methods of like using internal audits, as well as proofs to ensure that these are properly implemented as well. But of course, the intention of GFP is not to enforce, like, like not to follow up this like the auditors or something. No, but of course, it's the entity's requirement and the request to demonstrate integrity and follow these standards. But GFP will continue to evaluate more clearly, more specifically, because we want to represent proper insights for the global network, and of course let them pursue. And what is the MCP role? So before I go to any questions, I will tell you what is mainly about your role as MCP. Like, okay, finance analyst is nice, okay, that's good, thank you now, but what is my role? Like, that is what you're more interested about as MCP as well. So one of the things is, as you go to planning as well, you would want to analyze the current status of your entity compared to the standards that we have, so that you will get a picture, okay, in terms of legalities, where am I? What are things that I'm missing? In budgeting, what are things I'm missing? In investing, what are things I'm missing? So that you can have a more better picture, especially the VP Finance can plan much more better in terms of the things that they want to achieve, you as an MC team for the next year. Because of course, it's not practical to achieve everything. Like if you start, okay, I'm going to do all the finance standards, all the things, that's not going to happen. So you will probably need to prioritize. So as MCP, you would also have to contribute in terms of prioritizing. Okay, these are the things that I want to do in my. You need to pick your battles for your term for sure. So then you need to prioritize what are things that you need to do. And also, this supports gives you the chance to see this as a like 80% of the JD of the VP Finance will be with finance standards itself. So this gives an opportunity for the MCP to also easily track your VP Finance, because as the VP Finance fulfills these ones, you can also easily track as well. And of course, like you need to give the support to the VP Finance for to achieving certain things, especially in legalities, so that you can they can actually achieve the things as well. But before questions, one final thing: why is most of the time uh, why do we, like, what are the common problems that we face in terms of implementing finance standards? One thing is understanding the requirements itself is a bottleneck a lot of people face. And the second thing is it's time consuming to implement. For an example, suppose you don't have trademark and tomorrow you want to have trademark. It's not that you can have trademark tomorrow, right? It will take a process for you to get these things done. So most of the people, what happens is either the term changes or in the middle they lose interest and they don't do it because those take time. So these are not very, like, while the checklist can look simple or in one slide, these are actually taking a lot of more time. So even as me as VP Finance in the entity, it will take a long time to implement this. And of course, that's a part of sustainability as well. Sustainability is not that tomorrow, okay, I do this and become sustainable, but it's a long-term thing. It's a long-term process. So you need to have that as well. Then I hope like you're not sharing roles as VP Finance and MCP. I mean, it's fine if you're sharing, but as long as if you're not sharing, you would have more time to invest on to get this done as well. Yeah, these are some of the challenges. I see one question. I have a serious question. SRS.
Serious, yeah. Because yeah, I have a serious question.
Okay. How do we choose our battles? Okay, this is a very good point. So actually, after this finance summit as well, me and the regional office, of course, Tony is the RM finance responsible to, especially with Tony, we'll be working with the entities to prioritize these standards for the entity specific. So I'm not going to give, okay, these are the priorities, because the specifics priorities are different from entity to entity. So there will be a regional support to customizing on finding the priorities for your entity in these standards. Also, the standards will be the checklist will be put in the importance order. So the first point will be the most important, while the last point of the checklist will be the not most important, but like priority wise. So you can achieve it later on. I hope I answered that. Yeah, so with that we will go into the questions. I will give you like one song so that you can like just digest. I know I've been talking a lot and giving you a lot of context or content. So I just want you to take one song and just digest the content which I've been telling. And you can also think on these two lines: what does my entity need to focus, as well as what will be my priorities in terms of finance standards, like which standards or which things to prioritize. I know you don't know the checklist. It's fine. You can think on a general note. I need to focus on these aspects, especially in terms of my entity. Then with the VP Finance, after the Finance Summit, in the planning, you can really work with them in order to prioritize the things with the support of the regional office. Me and Tony will be there for you to support throughout this to implement. But yeah, I will play one song so that you can just digest the content that I was just letting you know as well. Prior, can you tell me how much time I have remaining also, if possible? Thank you. Okay, I hope you had time to just think about it a bit. Yeah, so with this, I think we can open for like questions, what you have about this or anything. I will also, I think, probably a question I had before is about timeline. So I will answer that question first. I think most of you will have questions about timeline. So how the timeline would look like is that we will downscale the checklist itself in the finance summits, which will happen from 24 to 28 with your VP finances, and then after that you can take like into planning with the new finance standards. So you can do planning, like the VP finance can plan their strategies with the using the new finance standards itself. And then from July onwards is when July and August, if your term, depending on when the term is going to start, is when GFP will be started tracking and evaluating you based on the new standards. But it does not change any of the processes for you. It will just change the kind of questions which GFP will be asking, as well as like how your score would look like in terms of sustainability as well, so that you can better evaluate where your entity stands. But this is what it looks like to the timeline. And in November RPM is where we recognize the early adopters. So like August, September, October, November, until this period of time, we will give a lot of support for the entities. From my side, as Isaac International, as well as the regional office, we will support you a lot. We will answer all your questions 1,000 times, and like until November, like we will give you maximum support for you to adopt these standards as well. But of course, your priorities on standards. But after that, we expect the entity to lead these standards with your LCs, and after that, you would like we would uh, focus on the next other things as GFP as well as Isaac International, so that you, now knowing it very well, can lead the finance standards in your entity as well as your LCs. But this is what it will look like. So actually in November RPM, I would very happy to say like who are the early adopters of the standards, as well as who have been leading on the standards and as well. So hope to see you all there. I hope I have a session there. AP. Okay. Yeah, any questions?
I have a question. So,
Yeah.
firstly, thank you for the session, but also I'm curious about the implementation for the analyzing and the investing finance standards. Accounting, budgeting, it's super easy. You just put in your budget, right?
Yeah.
Will there be existing documents given for like, okay, you need to fill this out, analyze? Because I'm thinking, well, if it's not aligned to what MTs already do, it could be a bit time consuming to fill out and, be an obstacle in implementation. So I'm wondering what's the plan for that?
Mhm. So we would provide you education as well as resources for each of them. For example, analyzing. For example, I will take an example from investing for ROI calculations. So ROI, how to calculate all of this education as well as tools will be provided. But it's not mandatory to use it. If your entity is already adopting one, you can always use that, and or you can customize it. But for each of the checkpoints, we will have an education component, as well as resources of frameworks or tools also will be provided along with this, especially for investing and analyzing as new standards. Like risk management also, we will provide the tools and resources also, but that is how it will look like. It's not, these standards will not tell you exactly like, for an example, I will give you a classic example. So Isaac always recommended 6 months of cash reserves. But of course, the pandemic taught us 6 months of cash reserves is not enough. We would asking a lot of corporates, and we realized corporates have actually 5 years of cash reserves, 5 years of reserves for them to run. Most of the top corporates, and for NGOs, it's also a different value. But this is something we have been realizing lately as well. So what happens is, if the standard itself will not drive or guide strategies or specific things, but also it will give you the foundation for you to work on. It will tell you, not tell you like you need to have 12 months of cash reserves, but it will tell you to figure out the months of cash reserves you want, and it will provide you the guidance for you to do it, rather than telling the exact values, which will be outdated. But yeah, I hope I answered, but it will give you more of guidance and the frameworks, but not exactly specific answers itself.
So sorry, quick follow-up. So then what's the system of accountability going to be used then between GFB for those specific standards, if it's just like at your discretion?
Mm-hmm. So GFP will be measuring two things. One thing is the implementation of the process. So the effective of the process will be checked by your financial data. So for example, you implement a ROI tool is one thing, but the results will be checked by the financial data that you have. So GFP will be evaluating both. So effectiveness of what you're doing will be reflected in your the like financial ratios that will be taken extracted from your statements, financial statements, which are the data that you submit. So it's not that your tool is better than someone else. That is not what we will. If you have a tool, you are, and it's something that is acceptable. It's you're in the process, but the results will be checked by the financial figures itself. That is where you get the sustainability score.
Perfect. Thanks, boss. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Any other questions? I think that's all the questions. But of course, just a heads up, we will have a lot of more detailed content of this coming in with the Finance Summit, because we are keeping the checklist and everything to launch in the VP Finance at the Finance Summit itself. But of course, as NCPs, you will have access. You can look at it and approach me if you have more questions. But everyone will get more detail and all of the education, everything linked with the end of the Finance Summit itself as well. So you're prepared for planning and rock the plannings. Yeah, I guess that's it from my side. Thank you very much. I hope you have a very sustainable Isaac. Wait, I need to show you one more thing. I will screen share quickly. So we also finally relaunched the Proud Financier campaign. So this is the new logo. Hope you're happy to see this. And this will be what we are going to drive this finance standards along with the Proud Financier campaign as well. So I hope you drive a Proud Financier and be proud as financiers. Like CEOs are also to drive this. But yeah, I hope you be a part of this, and I hope you really get the maximum support and be the best adopters by November RPM. Let's meet there and let's celebrate sustainability and building a sustainable Isaac. Also, these are our new colors. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Navodya. Give it up for our AI manager, Navodya, all the way from AP. He was sitting in this room, guys, and now he's delivering session. Amazing.